Let me guess, you're feeling stuck in your SMMA and your revenue isn't growing. Well, I know what it feels like because I've been there, but luckily it isn't really your fault because you are trying to get to the top of the hill in a broken vehicle. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why SMMA is an outdated model and what you should do instead to get to 25K a month with 80+% margins, without constant churn, without cold outreach, and without retainers. First of all, I'll cover why SMMA is dead. 4 biggest reasons: churn, poor results, cold clients, cold outreach, and then what you should do instead, which is how you should structure your internal operations, what kind of fulfillment you should have, what kind of acquisition you should have, and what this whole model is that I'm presenting to you. So let's get straight into it. The most fundamental part and aspect of why SMMA is dead and why it is a broken model is because of cold outreach. With cold outreach, it is a constant race that constantly requires you to be switching to the next tactic. What worked yesterday is not going to work today. What worked a month ago is not going to work today. Suddenly your IPs get banned. Suddenly your Instagram accounts get taken down. Tons of issues constantly. You never have a reliable system, which makes it impossible to outsource to VAs because you can't really outsource a system that will break in a month tops. Second of all, it is a manual process. So when you aren't working, no calls are being booked. Yes, you can use softwares, but still someone has to actually be responding to the people who are interested, booking them in, making sure that the software is working, again, constantly iterating because it will be breaking, trust me. And lastly, it is not scalable. It becomes exponentially more complex with every single new email or every new single DM that you are sending. Sending 100,000 emails is not 2 times more difficult than sending 50,000 emails. It is 10 times more difficult because you need more proxies, you need more email accounts, more ways that this whole system can be broken. So it just becomes more and more complex the more you scale it. Second reason why SMMA is a broken model is because of cold clients. When you are doing cold outreach, you attract cold clients, people who have no trust. The 3 aspects needed to close someone on a deal is that they have to know you, they have to like you, and they have to trust you. When you are doing cold outreach and attracting cold clients, they know you, of course, because they booked in a call, so they know who you are, but they don't like you and they don't trust you. And those 2 are like 90% of this whole sales process. So if they don't like you and they don't trust you, you have to spend much more time actually making them like you, and you will have much lower close rates. Second of all, cold clients are harder to please. They are more skeptical, they are less lenient, and they have higher expectations. And all of this leads to more churn, so people being with you for less, which requires you to do more cold outreach to make up for this deficit of clients that comes through churn. Then they are less invested, which causes them to have slower responses, which causes worse results because you don't get the information that you need to do your job as effectively as possible, which again makes them less invested, which again creates slower responses and even worse results. So it's this flywheel from hell that just makes the results worse and worse and worse until they end up churning. And lastly, they are much less likely to cooperate because when you reach out to them, you feel like you are doing them a service and not the other way around, and they will make you do all the work and they're not going to be cooperating, which again adds to this whole flywheel from hell, which again creates more churn. Reason number 3 why SMMA is a broken model is because of poor client results. So all of these gurus teach you a profit-first approach where quick cash is much preferred over reputation. If you can close someone today instead of waiting a week, getting a new media buyer, and actually delivering a good service, do it today because you will get the cash quicker. You can and you should get rich quick, but this is not a cash grab scheme. Running an agency is an actual business that you should build in a sustainable way, which I will teach you how to do later. In the SMMA game, usually cheap equals good. So hiring $3 an hour VAs, hiring $700 a month media buyers, or paying some sales reps like 5% commission on the first month of people that they close. Then my question to you is, how the fuck do you expect to build a proper team treating your people like shit, paying them the bare minimum? They will be churning every other month. You will be constantly going through VAs, and trust me, churning employees is much worse than churning clients. Second of all, you have shit media buyers because you are paying them $700 a month, so you will only get like juniors with an I don't give a fuck attitude who have no integrity and again constantly churn, because they also look at this like a cash grab. So if you treat your own business like a cash grab, people who work in that business will also treat it like a cash grab. And once they get a new, better opportunity, they will quickly jump ship. And again, just reiterating, churning employees is a huge headache, and it is the biggest company killer, even worse than churning clients. So you probably will end up with something like this. The third and final reason why SMA is a broken model, and it is a culmination of these three ones, is a lot of churn. The problem with churn is that it resets you back to zero. If you've ever played Minecraft hardcore mode, you know that when you die, your world is basically wiped. There is no way to respawn in that world, and you have to start completely from scratch, which is what happens when you are churning clients. You have to start this whole acquisition process all over, going through the sales process, onboarding them. Every single thing you did before that point just goes to waste. So if you sent, let's say, 10,000 emails, you took 100 sales calls to close 20 clients and all of them churned, then all of that was for nothing. This creates a constant race against time, where if you are not outpacing your churn, you are dying. If you are on par with your churn, your agency is stalled. And if you are slightly outpacing churn, you are slowly growing. Usually agencies are in one of these three buckets, and who wants to be growing slowly? We want to be driving fancy cars at 19, at 21, not when we are 60. So as I said, again, we want to get rich quick, just not with a cash grab scheme the way most people treat the SMA model. This literally is one of the worst things that can happen in your agency, in addition to your employees churning. So as you probably understand, SMA is far from the perfect model. If you want to build an actual sustainable business, yes, you can probably come in and build a quick agency, close a couple clients, get like 10K in a month, then churn them all and just go back to where you were, if that's what you're looking for. We are looking to build actual sustainable businesses that we can sell later on, which is where this new model comes in. It's called the hybrid growth agency. It is a model that is scalable, it has predictable growth, it is profitable and lean, and it is sellable, which basically makes it nothing like an SMA. We take every single part of an SMA and we just completely inverse it. It is scalable and it is profitable and lean through performance-based invoicing. It has 80+% margins. That's what I have in my own agency, and you can sell it. So here is what it would look like if you build it to 150K a month, which my agency is approaching now. You are looking at about a $3.75 million exit, which is not bad at all. You can easily do this in like 18 months. So earn $4 million in 18 months. Why not? This happens through the performance growth protocol, and it is the process that you use to take your agency from being an SMA to being a hybrid growth agency, which is what I'm going to teach you right now. So whip out your notepad, begin taking notes. This is going to be life-changing if you actually listen to me, because I have done this and I have scaled my own agency to close to 100K a month at this point. So let's start with acquisition. Of course, the most fundamental part of an agency. How do you get clients? Well, instead of doing it through cold outreach, we will be doing it through personal brand. I myself have done it through LinkedIn, but you can also use Instagram and YouTube. Depends on what kind of niche you are targeting with your agency. The cool thing about LinkedIn is that nobody does it. It's a blue ocean. I see maybe a couple of agency owners on there daily when there are thousands of coaches, thousands of SaaS owners. So it is such an untapped market for the agency game. And the cool thing about getting clients through personal brand is that they are super warm, which basically requires you to have zero sales skills. When I first started my agency and began booking meetings through personal brand, I felt like I was the best salesman in the world, because I was closing like 60% of the calls that I was taking, but it's just because of the personal brand. I was ass at sales and still closed more than half of the people I jumped on calls with. They are the easiest type of prospect to close, because going back to this whole know, like, trust model, they know you, they like you, and they trust you, which makes you score 10 out of 10 on this, whatever you call it, a sales factor. And because of all of these reasons, I have more than a 30% close rate right now. It could be higher, but it is only 30%, because I reject most of the people I jump on calls with, because I don't like their attitude, I don't like their business, I don't want to work with like people doing OnlyFans management, stuff like that. I only want to work with businesses that bring me internal joy. So this could be much higher, but I only close at 30%, which is still crazy in the SMMA game. Second of all, fulfillment. How do we go about actually fulfilling the service for the client? How do we go about keeping the clients for as long as possible? Well, through having the best media buyers. We don't cut any corners. We're building a business from day one. Remember that if you have this shitty setup of like tons of media buyers, you don't really have an actual business. It's just like a quick cash grab scheme, more of like a freelance platform. It doesn't have any intrinsic value in it. And yes, this ain't cheap. Hiring the best media buyers will cost you about $5K a month for someone to work with you full time. So what's the solution? Well, it is to do the work yourself until you can afford to hire a good media buyer. It's that simple. Don't fall for the temptation of going out there and getting a contractor immediately the first thing you do in your agency. It will ruin your agency. Next, we have warm clients, which makes them more lenient, which makes them more invested, which causes less churn. They are easier to please, and they are higher paying. Because remember, people will pay you based on the perceived value of your service, not the actual value of your service. And when they are easier to please, they have a higher perceived value of your service, which makes them pay you more. Thirdly, you are working with better products and services because you can be picky. People come to you, so you can select who you are working with, not the other way around, where you're just spamming every single e-com brand in the US or every single health clinic in the US, whatever your niche is. And it is much easier to deliver results. When you are working with a solid product, it is so much easier to advertise and so much easier to deliver good returns for, which again causes less churn because they are happier and they will stay with you for longer. And lastly, you will be working with higher budgets. And the cool thing here is that it is easier to deliver results with higher budgets because you can do more testing and you have more chances to fuck up. If you're working with, let's say, a budget of $600 a month on meta ads, you can run a couple tests, and if they flop, you have already wasted that month's entire budget without getting any learnings. While if you have, let's say, 10, 20, 30K a month to spend, you can fuck up 15 times over and still be in the green. And this may be a little counterintuitive, but actually working with higher budgets takes less time to deliver. The clients in my agency that spend 100K a month plus on paid ads takes like 3 times less effort and time from our team to actually deliver on, because they already have a solid system, they have a solid business, they don't require as much follow-up. And also, you will be earning more performance, because remember, going back to this whole model, we charge based on performance. We don't have any fixed retainers. We only charge a percentage of what we earn the client, which again, when you are spending more, you are delivering them more, and you will be charging them more as well, which causes a higher average invoice. Lastly, the internal operations of your agency. We will be using as much automation as possible. We want as few human touch points as possible, which allows us to have this 80+% margin, which again is unheard of in the business world. If you have the choice to outsource something to an AI versus a VA, always choose the AI, even if the VA is cheaper, because having fewer human touch points is so much more valuable than the couple of bucks that you will save by hiring the VA instead. For this, you can use tools like Make, Zapier, Notion. Just automate as much as possible. Have your onboarding process as streamlined as possible. When they jump on, they fill out a form which automatically fills out their data in Notion, gives your team everything they need to actually deliver the service. You get the point. Make it as streamlined and as efficient as possible. It's important for us to have the correct hiring structure in our agency. Once you hit 5K a month, hire a VA. I just said rather outsource to AI than VA, but there are tasks that AI just can't do. So you need a VA at 5K a month. Get yourself one. Once you begin approaching 25K a month, begin looking at outsourcing the service delivery. Again, remember, just a single media buyer, an expert one, will cost you approximately $5,000 a month. So don't jump into this boat too quickly. Then once you begin approaching 100K a month, you can look at outsourcing sales and never outsource the marketing, because as you remember, we are getting clients through personal brand, and you are your personal brand. So you are the only person who is able to post actively the stuff that actually attracts clients through your personal brand. So this is something that you should never outsource from your agency. Lastly, we want proper systems from day one. We don't want any hack job setup. So everything should be super proper and super efficient from day one. We want good lead follow-ups. We want a solid CRM. We want proper systems for content creation. And by doing this, by spending a bit of extra time in the beginning to make the proper systems, we will have no growing pains and we will be set for scale. Trust me, you don't want to get to, let's say, 25K a month and then realize that all of your systems are a fucking mess and you're not able to scale, so you lose out on a ton of money just because you didn't put in the effort previously required to build the proper systems. So if you are struggling to scale past 8K a month, I hope that you now realize that it's not your fault. You are just in a broken vehicle. So if this sounds like something you want to implement in your own agency, I'm opening up 3 slots to work with me personally, one-on-one, where I will guide you to implement every single part of the growth agency protocol in your own SMA to allow you to scale to 25K a month with 80+% margins, without churn, without retainers, and without cold outreach. So if that sounds interesting, reach out to me on Instagram. Let's talk about it.